joining us now. Podcast host, former Doge spokesperson. Look who's here, Katie Miller. Katie, it's great to see you on the show. So what'd you take on everything we just said? Because former President Barack Obama, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, they both will not endorse Mamdani. After Obama endorsed Bill de Blasio, he was far left too.
It is not surprising that all of the National Democratic Party is running away from Mamdani, right? It should be very simple for Chuck Schumer to answer who he voted for in New York as a New Yorker. But why is that the case? It's because what's going to happen, and when Mamdani wins tonight, because he will, because it is a protest vote against everything that's happened, whether that be Donald Trump, whether that be Israel and Gaza, that's what Mamdani is. He is a democratic socialist that New Yorkers feel like isn't a socialist. And what will happen is New York will fall. It will become the murder capital of the world. You will not be able to fund the police. There will be no police. It will be where every single high-paying tax dollar of New York flees the state, flees the city. And we've already heard that 1 million New Yorkers are going to flee. And that is because what is going to happen is you're going to see a major city in a downfall, in a free fall. And what's going to happen in that case is you're going to see the national Republicans run and try to tie every single candidate to Mamdani, and it will be wildly unpopular because that's not what the voters of Virginia want. It's not what the voters of New Jersey want.
Right. Do you think the Trump administration is really going to let the New York City voters and residents suffer under Mamdani? I mean, we know that Democrat Governor Kathy Hochul said Mamdani's tax hikes, that she will try to stop them, that she's not going to let it happen because they're going to hit the middle and working class voters, and that she'll try to move to block it. But, so what can the Trump administration do to help out New Yorkers suffering under this?
I think the greatest gift to President Trump will be seeing what happens when you elect a socialist to be your mayor. And no, President Trump cares so very deeply about every American, whether you live in New York or California or Chicago. And he will not let the murder rates get beyond control. He will push the National Guard in or do what he needs to do to protect Americans. But in that same time, I'm sure he's going to give Mamdani the runway to see what happens when you allow a socialist in control of a major city in our country. And it will not be pretty. But what they're doing here in New York is self-sabotage, and it will only be good for the future of the Republican Party.
It's the financial capital of the U.S. and the world. This is striking what's the movement here. But what do you make of this report out of the investigative watchdog group White Collar Fraud? They allege that a network of 6 tax-free organizations got nearly $41 million from billionaire George Soros' group, and then they deployed ground operation volunteers to get Mamdani elected. The Soros nonprofit disputes this, but there's a lot of maybe the Justice Department, maybe there should be an investigation. We're hearing people saying this into how Mamdani pulled in his campaign funds and from where.
I don't wear a tinfoil hat, but I'm a big believer that when Soros or when somebody pops up from nowhere and when they come from oblivion into the major national spotlight, it's a coordinated effort. And I believe George Soros has a large hand in that, and so does his family office and whomever his team is. What they are doing is they are pushing onto Americans and onto New Yorkers a candidate that is far outside the mainstream. That is whom they want to see wreak havoc on our country, because at the end of the day, they don't want to see America succeed. They want to see socialism succeed. They want to see people who were not born here, people who are not contributors to our economy. They want to make America like other countries instead of making America better, stronger than ever before.